So let's talk about Slumdog Millionaire because I think that for some, Western musical listeners, that really was their introduction to you. And
Yeah.
Jai Ho, the big sort of slightly Bollywoodish, final number was a big hit, and you got you know Academy Awards for the score and so on. But did it feel somehow different from the work that you had done on Indian films because it was set in India, it was filmed in India, it was, you know, an Indian subject matter, and you're working with an Irish director. What was that all like?
It's strange actually. I was fully swamped with many movies and I kept getting this mail from Danny. Hey, I'm Danny Boyle. So I Googled him and like, oh my god, Danny Boyle's done train spotting, he's done this stuff, and all that stuff is touched as gold in music wise, the taste of it. So suddenly felt like I spoke to one of my directors, Ashutosh Gowarikar, who did Lagan. Hey, I want to work with this director and I can I leave your movie? And he was like, no way you can leave my movie. He's like, said, okay, okay. Since you're so passionate about it, but next movie you should do. And then I left that movie. And strangely, we were trying to meet for like a couple of months. And one day he said, I got a message say, hey, I'm in Bombay. I said, I'm also in Bombay. And I said, I'm in this hotel. I'm in the same hotel. And let's meet down for breakfast. And then I come down. I met Danny, and he had such great a beautiful gesture. He said, "Take this DVD and see what you can do." And he gave me a DVD. And me being me, like I didn't have time to watch that. A week later, I just put that on. I was like, "Oh my god, what is this movie?" And I called him. I said, "This is the same kind of feeling I saw all those legendary big movies, and I get the same kind of feeling." He said, "Okay," and he said it had many other like picks and like temp music, and said, "Can I do the whole score?" I said, "Yeah, of course. If you have the because we're mixing in 2 months. If you can finish the score, yeah." So I started sending him like 80, 90 ideas. I picked out of it. And I just actually spent 2 weeks, just 2 weeks in finishing everything. Never felt like it's going to get an Oscar or anything because here we do like 130 cues and then you're just doing 18. But I never knew that those 18 you would keep at the most, exposed beautifully in the movie where it creates such an impact. So what he did was for the first time I felt, oh my god, that's what music should be. All the good things we do gets pulled down on the mix and it's been made into a wallpaper. So that's when I learned what music can do, if it's done,
Right.
put it the right perspective.
And there are times when it can be used sparingly and
Yeah.
have more impact than if it's continuous from start to finish. And
Yeah, but I think Danny has this pop kind of a thing where he just drives the music and then
yep,
on the scenes he doesn't use anything, you know? So that's one of a style which I really love. Oh,
right, exactly. And it is a great film. I just watched it again the other night, and you know, boy, it holds up beautifully. You have had some really fascinating collaborations. You collaborated with the composer Craig Armstrong on, Shekhar Kapoor's Elizabeth: The Golden Age. Now, that must have been very strange. That's a very different kind of environment that you were trying to capture, and you were working collaboratively with another composer. Was that a comfortable relationship?
very similar to Lord of the Rings because Vatana, the Finnish band, was also working with me. So it's
Yeah.
not new. I love Craig's music and I admired his stuff. Very nice man, and he gave me a room in his in his place in Scotland.
Mhm.
And the thing was, I think that time the director was in London, and we would send stuff, and they would listen to it, and we used to get all the cues bounced. I said, "What's going on? I think we're writing well. Everything is bounced. They're not taking a decision." So
Yeah.
I said, "I'm
Right.
gonna go, Craig. I'm gonna go sit next to Shaker's room." So I went there, played him in good speakers, everything was like, "Oh, that's good, that's good, that's good." So
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like when they they have to listen to the right perspective, and my music is always like I do sketches and it comes together in the very final, when I
Mhm.
deliver it. And the directors whom I work with understand. When new people come in, oh my god, what is he giving? It's too sketchy.
Right.
And so that's one thing. Even Hollywood, I had issues, not issues. I'd imagine, okay, this is what I should do. I should produce it in a better way and show it to them.
Mhm.
Unlike because I remember like even John Williams when he scores, he just plays the stuff on piano, and Spielberg would understand that. And
Yes.
You'd wait for the scoring. Those days are gone now. Now everybody wants an amazing temp
Right.
scored on keyboards, and yeah,
Yep. It's
absolutely.
all it's all samples, and so that you get
Yeah,
a sense of what the orchestration is gonna be like, and if you haven't yet decided what the orchestration is gonna be like, well, just tough, you have to. Um, I'd like to sort of move a little differently and talk a little bit about the spiritual dimension of your work and your concerts of Sufi music and so on. And maybe as a way into that, one of the winners of our Glenn Gould Prize is Philip Glass, and he said to me when we were together for the prize that he didn't so much feel as though he was creating the music, but that the music already existed out there, and that his training and his hard work made him a receptive vessel for the music to enter and flow through. Is that a point of view that you can empathize with, that you can feel some relationship with that kind of approach?
it's true. I think we all have to be the vessel, and the vessel has to be clean. The vessel has to be empty for to receive the blessings. I keep saying that, which has
Mhm.
to be worthy enough and worthy enough of the mind. The mind is the vessel,
Yes.
and when the vessel is unclean, definitely the work suffers. Because music making is has got so much with the other realm, and what we are living is the physical realm and the metaphysical one, which can you tap into it, and what are the rules to be ready for it, to tap into it.
Yes.
And this is not, music doesn't teach you this. Music doesn't teach you this. That comes with experience, that comes with instinct, that comes with a kind of practice where you just go into the zone, and that zone is where everything is clear. You have a blank paper.
Yes.
If the paper already has filled stuff, then it's going to be something which has already been printed. That's going to
Right.
come in already. If you want a
Yep.
fresh thing to be written, there to be a blank paper. And why I'm saying this is we all have instincts, and sometimes when you do music, you need to use both the tricks. Sometimes you have certain generic music, which, oh, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
Ostinatos with the boomer and then cellos. We need that, and sometimes we need, wait, wait, wait. I need a melody which is unheard of, and this progression should go deep into the mind and change people. And for that, you need courage.
Hmm.
The courage of not using too many instruments. It could be just one instrument. And for that, again, that's when I think what Philip Glass told, like I can totally understand the practice of taming your mind, the practice of studying it, the practice of being receptive and
Hmm.
cleansing your vessel. Yeah,
That's very beautifully said, and it reminds me, actually, since we are the Glenn Gould Foundation, something that Gould said, which is that the purpose of art is not that momentary burst of excitement, but the careful and deliberate lifelong construction of a state of wonder and serenity. And it seems to me that from the opposite point of view, that you have to kind of find your way into a mindset of serenity and wonder to discover the music that you're capable of having enter you and flow through you.
absolutely.
Yeah. So when did you first have the idea of touring with programs of Sufi music? Because obviously, there are, concert tours that you've had, world tours that are mostly your film music, the things that are very popular and so on. And, it seems to me that, in some ways from a, what, if someone were giving you, career advice, they'd say, my boy, you know, go out there and do the shows with the fireworks and the big displays and the hit songs. Why are why do you want to go and do sacred music? That's not a big audience. You're not going to have the kind of success that you can have. But first of all, they have been very successful, but also, you know it really is such a wonderful compliment to the more you know mainstream commercial aspect of your musical life. I found those concerts, the videos that I've seen, intensely moving and very, very beautiful. So where did the idea come from of bringing that to the public?
the whole thing happened when one of my friends, Sarangan, he gave me a CD once and said, "Hey, listen to this." And I'd done a documentary, and through that documentary, I discovered, oh, we can do a home studio. So he was part of, and he gave me the CD, and it was Peter Gabriel's Mast Mast of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Sahab. I think it was produced by Peter Brooks. Peter Brooks, right? And I listened to this, and I was like, man, this is stuff which I've never heard. And what languages? It was Punjabi, I think. And it was Punjabi, Sindhi, and Farsi and Arabic, and I never heard. And I was coming to Sufi, kind of was trying to tend to, and then so I could hear familiar things: Ali, Ali, Mast, Mast, and Mast Kalandar, and Dam Mast Kalandar. And apparently, Dam is actually means Adam, Adam. Yeah. So the deep spiritual meaning of like we all come from one source. So yeah. So when I was listening to it, I was like, can I do that? And I was like obsessive about what is this Punjabi language and what is this Sindhi language and who can write this? And I was asking everyone, like my friends in Bombay. There's one gentleman called Bridge Bush, and I said, I need a Punjabi lyricist. And then I was introduced to Sukhwinder Singh, who sang Jai Ho and Chaya Chaya. And we were just jamming, and then this whole thing opened up. Baba Bulle Shah was a Sufi in Punjab, and what he's written. And then Amir Khusru Rahmatullah, Nizamuddin Awliya, Khwaja Garib. These are all Sufi saints, and their sayings are all about unity, about love, about finding the mystic, finding joining with the ultimate. And then one of my friends, one of the directors who came in, he was editor of Filmfare, like the famous magazine. He said, "I'm doing a movie, and I know that I can't afford you, but can you do one song? Usually I don't do that." And I was like looking at him, and he was a very nice man. And I said, "What are the songs?" And he said, "I need a song like Muqabla, which is a pop number. Can you do that?" I said, "What else is there? Because I've done enough of that." There's a Sufi song. I'm going to go to this composer. I said, "I'll do that." And so I used to go to the Sufi shrine called Haji Ali, which is in the sea. Literally, you had to go to the sea. There's a shrine, beautifully surrounded. I said, "Okay, let me do Haji Ali Kawali." And I came up with the Pia Haji Ali. And then I met Shaukat, who's one of my faculty for Sufi ensemble at KM. I asked him to write, and then he wrote the stuff, and we had done this in 7/8 rhythm, and my life changed. So I finished this, and I went to London. One of the doctors I met, Indian guy, I think, he said, "I'm the doctor for Prince Charles. You know what happened?" And he said, "What happened?" My car was going, and I was listening to your song. Something happened, and the car overturned, but nothing happened to us, and your song was still playing. I said, "Oh my God, I got gooseflesh." And there's Sufi, the incantations, and the spiritual power of it. He was like going on but like, I said, "This is my future."
Yeah. Which song was that?
That's the Pia Haji Ali, Pia Haji Ali. It's the Haji Ali is
Right.
the saint.
Okay. Yes, yes. And which film was that in?
That was in I think it was film. Oh God, what film? It's Hrithik Roshan's first film, I guess. Hrithik Roshan was
Uh-huh.
the actor. Yeah, Fizza,
Well,
Fizza. Correct. It was Fizza.
you've proven that not only can Sufi music find its way beautifully into this kind of film context, but you could actually have hits with it. For example, Kun Faya Kun in Rockstar, was looking at that and listening to many different performances of that song. But the clip from the film on YouTube has 345 million views.
Oh wow, really?
That's a hit in anyone's book. Yes, and of
So the
course it's
thing about music is whether it's gospel or whether it's a bhajan or it's a kawali. I think the sincerity of it and the purity of it, where it comes from, defines what it could do.
yes.
Intention of the piece, actually, whether you listen to Beethoven or whether you listen to Meera, Lata Mangeshkar singing that, or kawali, like what we've done,
Hmm.
I felt like it's beyond religion, and people know that. Even if they try to polarize things, inside your eye of the heart knows what to see. And I took that as a guidance that even recently we did a concert for the Lightmen, to fundraise for the Lightmen.
Hmm.
I was skeptical. I said, at a time when things are very polarized. Not everybody. I'm just saying, like, would people accept this me singing? And the other gentleman, Senthili, said, "No, no, don't worry. People are." And I thought 500 people are going to come for the concert. Then 6,000 people came.
Yes.
6,000 people came, and they all sang along. And that's when I realized, beyond all the description, beyond all the human people trying to divide people, humans trying to divide people, if the purity is, the intention is pure in anything you do, that succeeds. And for that, you need courage. And also, Sufi. If you look at the Sufi shrines in India, mostly 50% Hindus, but most of them Sikhs. Everybody go. I think they understand what it stands for. It stands for unity and unconditional love and giving, and they don't judge. Like the Rumi poem says, like, there is a place beyond good things and bad things, and I'm going to see you there.
That's
That's so
great.
so good.
Beautiful.
And we're all judging people with this is right, whether it's in
Yeah.
music also. Like, oh, this is right, this is wrong.
Right.
Finally, it's the heart which decides what is good, what is bad. Interesting quote. It says that uh, intelligent people don't have taste. Intellectuals don't have taste.
Right.
So when you
That's
overanalyze something, you forget the joy of receiving, the joy of what it is. Let it be what it is.
that is so true. I've often felt that, one of the worst things to be if you love art is to become a critic, because you have to become so obsessed with coming across as sophisticated and knowing everything that you can never actually enjoy anything.
Yeah, I've directed um, a sensory project which is 37-minute and it's on VR. So kind of learned the whole process of story writing and shooting and production design and this and that. So one thing which if I had to sleep well, I said, switch off all that when you're working for some other people.
Right.
Don't see the editing, don't see the camera, enjoy the movie, do your job as a composer and shut up.
Right. Don't let don't let the details get in the way of the whole.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's talk about, because the concept of purity of intention, that and the spiritual journey carries over into your approach to philanthropy and education. And I do want to talk about the KM Music Academy. It's your creation. It has created some incredible opportunities for gifted young musicians and people who come to you who aren't musicians when they start and become musicians. Many cases from very financially, economically less advantaged backgrounds. And, how did the idea of creating this institution come about? And also tell us about the Sunshine Orchestra. Those are the two aspects that I'm really curious to learn more about.
I think what happened was my obsession with technology. I used to buy these big consoles, like £500,000 and all the stuff. And then after 2 years, I'd say, how much will it sell for? It's not even 20% or 15% of what it go. And so, like, why am I putting so much of money in this stuff? Of course, I need the consoles. But what if I invest in people, like, nurturing, get the fishing rods for these people, not get the fish, but the fishing rods. And that is empowering them with knowledge and instruments and all the stuff. So I think it was 2008, I called one of my colleagues and said, hey, I'm going to start a music school and I'm going to give it free. He said, no, 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 don't do that. Nothing free is valued unless they pay for it. Then he was like a businessman. And so we said, we went ahead on my birthday or my marriage day or something. We announced we're going to start this. I don't know anything about it, but I want this to happen in Chennai because if I don't do it, I think nobody's going to do it. I was waiting for people to do it, and also the musicians who were there playing strings and brass were getting really old. They were my father's generation actually. I said, what's going to happen to this? We just announced it, and then it's like you know uh, the bees coming to the honey. Like everybody started coming. So I told my mom was very good in construction. So I need a place to for these kids, and there was a car shed. She got a building up in 2 months, and yeah, we started the school. Then I realized um, the only way you can have instruments like strings and brass, because India's youngest country now, like kind of thing, and why would they become a violin player? It's so hard. and it didn't tally with me. Like younger people want to, climb up faster. They want to become famous faster. I said, why don't we pull this 80% of the population who are poor? Why don't we get them and give that empowerment so that they can, cross that social barrier, get and also be stick with what we are trying to achieve in orchestra. In a very Indian classical country, how can you bring harmony and symphonic music? I thought of this idea as I thought it will work because they're gonna be hopefully they'll be grateful for the education, and wanted India to cut all these barriers of caste and all the stuff and poor and rich and all the stuff and be united through music. And then it took me like definitely around 6 7 years. We fell again and again, and then suddenly we got up very strong, and these kids are now ambassadors for my music and for my conservatory, the Sunshine Orchestra. And of course we have the foundation, um you know the amazing opera singers and composers, and also realized that a school is not just educating them. It's a kind of place, it's a shrine where they exchange ideas and they mingle, they know about each other's stories. There's a lot of human, fusion happening there. And when I went to Berkeley, actually, I took my kids just for the heck of it. They did a summer program. They were like in the Cheesecake Factory and they were enjoying. I said, yeah, do that. And then you learn about life, you learn about other people, the world, cultures, and how to deal with things. And one of my daughters were wearing the niqab, right? She does that. And she was, of course, you had that people have a stigma against covering. And I was watching everything, how people, I was like sitting on a chair and watching them cross what kind of stigma goes through and what their understanding how to deal with things. And yeah, so the school, the conservatory is that. And one thing also, another thing I realized is if you teach classical music, that's not enough, because the challenges of the new world is different. If somebody is running Pro Tools, these people should know what he's doing there. They should understand, oh, he's put another track and I'm going to overdub, or this tempo's not singing with the click track, so I need to play that again. The dynamics could be better. If they know that, they're going to be better players. And what is it used for? And yeah, that's what a school should now teach rather than just sticking to, and yeah, and then how to talk in the public and
Right.
all that stuff. Yeah.
It's something that I actually feel very passionately about. It's something that I'm very critical about most Western music conservatories, is that they teach the kids how to play their instrument, how to interpret the music. It's a wonderful training from that point of view. In terms of the reality of
Yeah.
making music in the modern world, how do you build a career? How do you promote your career? How do you work in a studio? How do you make a record? Like, as if you, even if you're not producing and engineering your own record, how are you expected to behave in the studio to generate the best possible result? None of that is included. And so the kids get out of school and, all they can think of is, I have to get into a symphony orchestra. I have to be a freelance, studio musician. I have to join a band. But, I don't know how to do any of those things, but I'm really good at playing my instrument.
Yeah, so I think the past for few years, I think you see so much of YouTube. There's so much of education outside, conservatory. So,
Yes.
and yeah, that's one thing I always felt like, how I'm responsible for these kids' futures, and I don't want to be blamed by them saying that I went to this conservatory, I studied this, and I also said like, India never had a music supervision course. India never had a music editing course. These are jobs waiting for you guys, because
Yes.
all the burden comes on the composer or the director. Why should we take like 15 jobs what other people can earn? And
Yes.
that's how I pitch the school. Like you learn a violin or a cello, you understand what music is. You
Right.
can become a sound editor. You can judge something in a TV series. So you have the musical knowledge, and you're learning about musicality, research, and social concept, and how it's yeah, these
Right.
things.
And you have the flexibility because of the Western music that's part of the training to flow into different areas, different career opportunities that may either still be in India or outside of India. So it's very flexible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It also reminds me very much, and this is something I have a long personal relationship with, which is the South American El Sistema
Yes,
program, which
yeah,
and I don't know whether you've um, developed any connections to them, but that's something that if you'd ever like to explore, I'd be happy to act as a bit of a go-between because I've worked with them for many, many years, going back to my own record label days.
that'd be great.
They would
We
love
got
you. They would love to work with KM. I know they would. Anyway, I have one other thing, and it's an interesting question. And that is, you are now a legitimate celebrity, musical star, icon, and when you perform in what I call the concerts of your hit music, you have to basically adopt the swagger of essentially the rock musician and the persona of a celebrity. Um, but on the other hand, you come from a spiritual tradition that you feel very deeply, and that embraces humility and reverence. And one of the things that is common to most great spiritual traditions is you have a kind of an exalted respect and celebration of that which is highest and most holy, however you understand it. And along with that, there is the goal of overcoming the self, of
Mhm.
by making the ego somehow take a back seat. You can basically then free yourself to embrace the infinite. Um, these two things seem to be directly contradictory with each other. If you don't mind my saying so, and I'm not saying that to be critical. It's just
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
how do you reconcile those two impulses? It must be very strange in a way.
Yeah, I think it's a good point actually. So my wife takes care of my styling, and it's a duty of a husband to fulfill the wife's desire, right? So she is like, you have to be a rock star. When you stand on the stage, you should be like this. I said, okay, you take the reins and do whatever you want. I'll wear that. I'll throw it after the concert. That's it. During the concert, I wear all that stuff, and so she's happy, and she
Yes,
does all the styling. And I have my limits what I do on stage. No, like
right,
I do, not like other people. I mean, each one has a personality. My personality is this, and my audience knows this. This is what my thing is, and we have fun.
right,
Music is about because the music is fun music. The music demands certain kind of a vibe, and I
right.
can't just be like, yeah,
You can't be serious all the time, and as long as you establish some boundaries, you can
yeah.
stay within those. And that makes sense. That does make sense. So before we finish, I mean, there are so many other things that I'd love to talk with you about, but you know we've touched on the very central role of technology. I mean, 100 years ago, you know there was essentially the technology was the instrument themselves, or I have actually in my office, you can see behind me, you know one of the few early innovations in music technology. That's an Edison cylinder, which involves 4 minutes of music on a wax cylinder.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
yeah, 4 minutes. This is from about 1906, and I
I've
have
never
to
seen
say
that.
that I always, yeah, before they came up with flat discs, Edison had these,
Oh, wow.
and the um, and of course they sound awful. They really do. Um, but I do have to say one thing, and that is if there is a power failure and it lasts long enough that everyone else's batteries are gone on their phones and their devices, I can still make music because this is purely mechanical. It doesn't have an amplifier, it doesn't have a speaker, it has a horn. Anyway, the point is that technology has really transformed how we create music, how we hear music, how we share music, how we, conceive of music. Every aspect
And now we have
has,
AI. We have AI.
yes. That well, I was going to get to that. Like, do you feel that AI is, a threat, or is
I
it something
think
that we
it's
can?
the Napster of creativity again. What
Uh,
Napster did to CDs, and how the music industry had to, do everything, reboot. I think we
right,
have come to another stage. It's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be
right.
so noisy.
Right. Well, hopefully there will never be an AI AR. So, that would be bad. But you have really embraced technology. I think you were the first person to go to 7.1 sound in your scoring. And I have to say that in listening to your recordings, the quality of production is absolutely immaculate. It's beautifully produced. The realization is very, very polished and expressive. Um, you clearly are someone who has never basically looked at a new piece of equipment and said, "Take it away. I don't want to learn something new." That's me. I'm a technophobe. Um, you know, does it feel like fun? Is it like a journey to explore the new capabilities when there's a new piece of software or a new piece of gear that comes into your life?
I mean, if it's gonna make my life easy, like,
Yeah,
sometimes, if it's gonna take 14 steps to get at something, and then there's something which should make it 2 steps, and it increases the productivity
yeah,
without compromising, and you can use that time for something else. Otherwise, the more you get old, you can't sit and your back starts paining.
right,
So I think the tools are gonna make me young, make my music younger, and the age factor won't reflect on the music, and it'll be better even more
right,
and more
right, right. And
vibrant.
you start to think saving time
Yeah.
actually counts because we ultimately are all counting backwards, right, from an end point. Um, Last couple of questions: studio versus stage. Glenn Gould was really happiest in the studio. He felt that it was a controlled environment. It was secure. He could go more deeply into the music. He could craft it. It wasn't depending on the chance of the moment in front of an audience. Do you feel a kinship to that point of view? Do you see separate satisfactions between the studio and performing live?
I think live has its own highs, and it could get, when it's troublesome, uh, you are also controlling a mob, a good mob and a bad mob. A good
Right.
mob can become a bad mob if something bad happens. So but it's fun when it all goes well. Because if
Yes.
people are going to show up in your concert, they're going to buy tickets. They already love you 50%,
Yeah.
and all you have to do is perform well. Then you're sold. If they're going to show up for your concert, like 20,000 people or 30,000 people showing up for your concert is such a amazing thing. Not everybody gets that, and and also I never look back at my compositions. I just all awards, like, I'm done with it. I don't know whether I'm going to compose a tune tomorrow, so that's my next challenge. I'm more bothered about that rather than thinking about the past.
Right.
So the only time I look back is, oh, I got a concert. So let's see what impresses me. Oh, that stuff is great. This stuff is great. I can do this. I can change the arrangement or play it on the piano. And that's when I look back and then take stuff.
Yeah.
So I like both, actually. And first couple of decades, it was like death going on stage. You don't know
Uh-huh.
what's gonna fail, who's not gonna show up, and which promoter won't pay. And now I think all that is sorted. Is much better now.
Right. Because I do sense that you are, you know, in your deepest nature, you're a quiet and a contemplative person, a thoughtful person. And, you have to basically find the extrovert in you, the outgoing person to be on stage. And, congratulations, you've been able to make that transition. That's great.
My question is, like, if people are coming, they're paying for your concert, and they are going to a Beyonce concert, they're going to a something else. Why should they get something less?
Hmm.
And so why can't we up the game? And what would I like to see if I see an A.R. Rahman concert? You know,
Right.
I always think like that. Oh, I like to see this. I like to see it
Yes.
presented well. I like good videos. I like to see great arrangements, great singing, and we are very proud of it rather than cringing when it's, oh, it is what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. So in closing, actually came across a quote of yours that I really loved, and I want to read it and then ask one last question. Um, Music is the language of languages. It is the ultimate mother of languages. Film music in India is like pop music in the West. Movies are the channels for this music, but music stays on long after the films. If a music artiste wants to blossom as a full fledged person, it is not enough if he only knows classical music, nor is it enough if he's well versed in only in ragas and techniques. Instead, he should be a knowledgeable person interested in life and philosophy. In his personal life, there should be, at least in some corner of his heart, a tinge of lingering sorrow. Ah, makes me think of Johannes Brahms or Robert Schumann or even Beethoven. But that's a very beautiful sentiment about how music
Thank
has
you.
to embrace more than just the technique of music, but the whole range of life experiences, including the sad ones.
Yeah, I think empathy, whatever you have for life and other humans comes through music, and it evokes it, right?
Yes,
And if that is actually the spiritual power of belief, whatever you believe in or you don't believe in, we all believe in humanity. We all believe in the joy of others. Otherwise, life will never go through. No civilization will exist if we are not
correct.
happy with, by the joy of giving. And I think music kind of augments that stuff in a person when they listen to it, and the world becomes
Absolutely.
more beautiful. Like when you're going
Yes.
through a very very unclean road, you just put beautiful music. Even that looks beautiful, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely. Well, you've done it all. Well over 200 film scores, concerts that attract tens and tens of thousands of people. You've opened the world of Sufi music to audiences around the world who weren't familiar with it before. You've helped to educate. And you've collaborated with some of the most enormous names in music. Michael Jackson and Mick Jagger and so on. So my last question is, what lies ahead, and is there a Mount Everest that you still are looking forward to scaling? Is there a dream project that you still are hoping lies ahead for you?
just when you think everything's over, something else opens up.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm very fascinated about the meta world and what you can do with that with music, and how you can there's certain limitations when you have certain things in real life which you can go ahead and do with the meta world.
Right.
And what are those possibilities, what is the sound of that, is what I'm exploring now.
Interesting, interesting. Well, so in that case, we look forward to the next virtual you in that metaverse. That's great. And thank you again for the gift of music that you've given, for being so generous and giving us so much time to talk today. And of course, we'll all be following, the next and the next and the next project that you take on with the greatest interest. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Great honor.
The Glenn Gould Foundation is a registered Canadian charity, and we rely on the support of arts lovers like you to keep bringing inspiring stories to life. Please consider giving by visiting our website, glenngould.ca, and follow us across social media at the Glenn Gould Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Gould Standard.
आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तले आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमान